Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us in today's webinar. We're glad to see a good turnout, and we know that everyone's excited, but let's give a couple of minutes for the rest of the attendees to join in. And while waiting for the others, we just wanted to inform you that you are on listen mode only. Should you have questions, you may send them through the question box, and our panelists will answer them, and some would be discussed during the Q&A after the presentation. Unanswered questions will be parked, and we'll definitely be getting back to you with the answers via email.
Today, many organizations are embracing disruption and riding the next wave in technology, shifting to cloud for agility, scalability, accessibility, and security. However, optimizing and managing resources on cloud has its own challenges. Migrating from legacy platforms to cloud, adherence to privacy laws, compliances, and regulations, managing multiple cloud platforms, hiring specialized skill sets, and managing flexible pricing have become the biggest barriers to cloud adoption. A cloud-managed service provider can help you manage your data, applications, and security on multiple clouds by offering you the most pragmatic route for higher efficiency. Cloud4C is a leading global cloud managed services provider with 18+ COEs to deliver and manage various platforms' application technologies. We are serving over 3,500 enterprises, including 60+ Fortune 500 companies across the globe. With 10+ years of experience in handling critical workloads on multiple cloud platforms, we understand your business requirements and provide customized solutions that include end-to-end cloud services offering private, public, and hybrid cloud solutions, cloud-managed services on any cloud platform, disaster recovery services, security and compliance services, and industry-specific community cloud services. Cloud4C helps you deal with the complexities of multi-cloud architecture and offers you experience with local regulations and global compliances, certifications to cater to your industry needs, robust security with 40+ security controls, platform-agnostic reference architecture, seamless cloud migration with industry benchmarked workload experience, single SLA at application level. Operating in 45+ locations globally, we are trusted by the world's best companies. Our COE structure ensures mile-deep cloud expertise so that you can focus on your business while leaving the infrastructure management to us. Accelerate your business growth with Cloud4C.
Yes, and good morning again, everybody, and thank you for joining us this morning. I'd like to introduce to you our first speaker for today's webinar, Mr. Manish Kohli. So Manish here is a strategic business leader for over 2 decades of expertise in successfully leading numerous digital transformations across sectors. His experience in enterprise sales, channel management, and business development, he spearheads revenue growth initiatives across Asia Pacific and Japan region for Cloud4C. Manish here will be our first speaker and our moderator. Manish?
Thank you so much, Faye. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Loud and clear.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your time joining this webinar today. I'll be your host and moderator, as Faye just mentioned. We have a substantial, a great heavyweight panel with us for discussions today. So let's get started. Let me just talk about a few things. So this is my introduction. This is the agenda. So we are going to talk about these few topics. So we are going to talk about why do we really need intelligence security solutions? Obviously, threats are ever expanding and ever evolving. We'll do a quick induction of Cloud4C and what we do for our customers in terms of services and security services. We'll invite our panelists from Microsoft. We have a few of them on the panel today to talk about what is the Microsoft security portfolio, what that brings to the industry. And then we'll get together with a couple of technologies for a fireside chat, trying to understand and make sense of the security landscape in the industry. And finally, we'll have a good panel discussion. We have multiple business stakeholders as well, and then we'll try and see how we can address some of your questions. Just a few points about the housekeeping. Sorry, just give me a second. Yep. So you see a QR code on your screen. Please scan it. It has a feedback form. You want to give us any feedback, you want to qualify for an offer that I'll be sharing shortly. That's the way to give us your feedback. There is a Q&A window at the bottom of your screen. Please use that for any questions that you may want to submit. And like I said, for the assessment, for the free assessment, please use the QR code to give us your feedback. This is the offer. This is the workshop that I was talking about. We'll talk more about it as we go along, but at a very high level, we are bringing you an offer to essentially look at your environment, do a due diligence, some assessment, and give you some feedback in terms of how you can have a better security posture and how we can help you with that. So let me get started and just paint a picture of the industry and the environment in these days and times. So we are seeing, all of us are as consumers, as companies are seeing ever expanding digital estate, right? We have multiple devices, whether it's vehicles, whether it's energy systems, whether it's our citizens using different services as government organizations, our customers, our organizations are having multiple supply chain partners. And what's really, how do we make sense of all of this, and how do we make it safe and have a defense mechanism, take care of any threats that this expanding estate might provide. So the threats are evolving, as we are all aware. We are having a lot of alerts. The SOC, traditional way of running the SOC operations, has multiple challenges. Lack of automation is one of the primary challenges. Security skills are not present as we need them. And just putting some numbers to these challenges, we are seeing in excess of 27,000 alerts on a day in large SOC environments. Multiple SOC are also using 40+ tools. Multiple companies are having shortage of staff to address these challenges. So this is the landscape that we find ourselves in, and these are the challenges that multiple customers are sort of grappling with on a day-to-day basis. And what is the impact? So this is a recent data from a recent study done by Ponemon Institute, 2020 study. and it's basically calculating and showcasing the average cost of data breach across industry. So from whichever industry you are, if you look across, you will see a large number. Yeah. So this is an average cost of data breach within your industry. Now, this is a global study. There are almost 500 plus organizations, 17 countries and 17 industries. But your number would not be very far from the number that you see on the screen. And this is the impact of not having a mature security posture and not having the tools and services in place to prevent your organization from the data breach that potentially can impact you. And current environment of this pandemic, work from home, everybody is essentially stuck to their houses and trying to work from home. So what's really happened in terms of the data breach landscape? So respondents are essentially saying that the time to identify and contain a breach has increased. So 76% of them are saying it has increased for them. And 70% of them are saying that the cost of managing this breach is also increased. And what is the additional impact? So the work from home or the COVID environment has essentially added $137,000 to the cost of managing a breach. So this is as good a time as any. In the past, you still had a substantial cost, but the cost is increasing with the current pandemic. Now, what are the most common and expensive data breaches? So you would see almost 50%, 52% are malicious attacks, which are done with an intent to harm. And almost 19%, let me just go back to my previous slide. Almost 19% are due to cloud misconfiguration. So cloud is a definite enabler, yeah. But as the companies are moving towards cloud, if they do not have the right skills, the right expertise within their organizations, then it leads to misconfiguration and it leads to breaches. Yeah, you are open to a data breach from outside, and then 13% are also from nation states attacking companies, government agencies, for their national assets. So this is just another important data point. So they've compared basically average total cost of data breach in organizations which have a fully deployed security automation vis-a-vis some organizations which have no security automation deployed, and the cost average savings is about $3.5 million. And if you were to compare that to the cost of companies which have an incident response team in-house, and that team essentially does regular testing and deploys the solutions and follows the best practice, then again the savings is a substantial $2 million plus for the companies in terms of their security posture and savings. So this is essentially to establish that why you should invest in this technology, in these services, to essentially prevent your company from incurring a large. Is that all? It takes almost 280 days before you actually identify and contain a data breach. So even people who have said that they are not aware of any data breach, or they are sure that they've not been breached, they could have some malicious malware or other kind of things within their environment, is essentially to take data away. Just give me a minute. Yeah, so that's 280 days to identify and contain a data breach. Just some data points for you. So let me now take a few minutes to introduce Cloud4C as a company. So Cloud4C is a born in cloud managed services provider. We are a cloud managed services provider, and we are headquartered out of Singapore. We are present in 25 plus countries with 50 plus locations, and we are a 2,000 strong company, and 500 plus Azure experts. So in terms of bringing the value of cloud services and making sure that you consume the services in a secure way, this particular session essentially is brought together to address any security concerns that you may have. What you also see is our credentials as the largest SAP HEC partner. So we are supporting multiple customers on their SAP environments, which are essentially mission critical applications running in a secure way. Our key strategic partnerships are SAP and Microsoft. We are Azure Expert MSP, which is essentially the top tier of Azure expertise, and multiple other value proposition that we bring together as a company to make sure that you have the best services from us. The next slide essentially talks about some of our customers. So we are trusted by global customers, 3 of the top 5 banks, multiple car manufacturers, media companies, in essentially 60% of the Fortune 500 customers, as well as 100 plus of customers based out of India. So when you are working with us or talking to us, you are essentially talking to an experienced provider with a strong skill set in this area. The next slide essentially just elaborates more in terms of how we can help. So if you are embarking on your cloud journey, IT modernization journey, looking at transformation, evaluating hybrid or public cloud environments, then we can help in that journey. And we will talk more about some of our solutions as we go along. So at this point, allow me to introduce Hitesh as the next speaker. Hitesh, can you take us through your session?
Thank you, Manish. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Hitesh. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you. Greetings, everyone. This is Hitesh from Cloud4C. Thank you for your participation today. Being a security practitioner, I'm very passionate about this topic. I hold CISSP as well as CCSP. So those who are not aware, CISSP happen to be industry's gold standard for a long time as in terms of IT security certifications. In addition, I also teach cloud security in National University of Singapore for CCSP students. Today, I'll talk in next 10 to 15 minutes, I'll walk you through what does the Azure Sentinel, Azure ATP, as well as the Azure Security Center brings to the table. So it provides you a 360-degree defense management. So let's take a look. What does it mean to you as your business, right? So what Microsoft has done with the security stack is amazing, and it hasn't happened overnight. After investing billions of dollars in the R&D, one thing which I love about how it is helping we as an end user or you as an IT decision makers is all these solutions are tightly integrated. One of the challenges that we have seen in the past is that there were always point solution, but integrating and make them work for the business, has been very complex task, which leaves always an ambiguity in the security, which is an enemy of the defense, right? So we'll walk you through as how it is easy to get started and start protecting against the modern threats that we are in. The security is a complex and wide topic, but it doesn't have to be that complicated that you have to integrate everything by yourself, right? So let's take a look. So we'll talk, for next 10 minutes, we'll talk about what is ATP and what is Sentinel, what is Security Center. So why do we need this tool? Well, traditional tools and technologies were not architected or designed to meet current demand, right? The current demand is a dynamic world that we are in. As Manish has set up, it can take as long as 280 days before you detect there was a malware, which is now taking a payload, right? So they are very sophisticated attack that we're living in. The legacy technologies, including SIEM, and I'll talk what SIEM means, right? Require powerful hardware, extensive storage, which is difficult to meet the requirement of today's scale. So how do you get started? So let's take a look. What has been the traditional approach? So traditionally, SIEM has been used as log aggregator or log manager, providing you an amazing reporting and dashboard. And logs are invaluable source of intelligence about your networks, applications, performance, as well as security. But not unless you're putting them to use, like Sentinel does, by making actionable insight out of the data in real time, and also providing your ability to orchestrate and automate. With that means the overhead of your security operations center can be eliminated by as much as like 60 to 70% of the tasks that they're doing is repeatable, can be orchestrated. That means a faster response to the security. Today, when we are facing sophisticated ATP attacks, advanced persistent threat, right, it is required to have automated response, proactive threat hunting. You cannot wait for somebody to manually run a query and find there was a threat going on a few weeks back. The breach has already happened. So the proactiveness is a critical thing. It's a need of an hour. Reliable threat intelligence is something that many companies are actually aspiring to. That means the global network of the threat intelligence should be feeding back into your security operations to prevent the threats that are taking place across the world. So Azure Sentinel enables you to automate the analysis that we're talking about. It's a SIEM and SOAR solutions. What does it mean by SIEM? Is security and event management, as well as the SOAR, which is security orchestration. So SIEM is not a new technology. It's been there for almost more than a decade. But what Microsoft has done is amazing. Using the power of cloud, AI, analytics, and automation, they've brought this Sentinel offering, which is quite automated, and it is ready to meet the next generation demands for security. So let's say, so how do you get started? So once you have a working environment of Sentinel, it is actually getting the data from all the endpoints that you have, the devices that you have. It is actually using AI to investigate the threats. You can hunt for suspicious activities within your network, respond to the incident rapidly using the built-in orchestration, automations, and you can put automation for the common task. There's built-in dashboard for standard connectors. When I say connectors, if some of you are already using Office 365, there's plenty of data existing in Office 365 that can use to enhance your security posture. So there's built-in connector. The moment you get started with Sentinel, you can get a review of overall security posture on Office 365. And it doesn't stop on the Microsoft technologies alone. You can bring in any device that you have, any syslog server, TCAS server, endpoint devices, all operating system logs, everything can be ingested in that at almost very least effort because the integrations are built in. There are built-in marketplace connectors that get you started there. So you can start leveraging the data. As you can see on the screen, the intuitive graph that you see, it brings amazing power to your security operations center. And let me explain to you. So if there is a threat happening, this dashboard will visualize for you. You can just pinpoint to the device, computer, the endpoint that is going through an attack, as you can see from the alert dashboard. You can just intuitively explore why this is red, why this is amber or green, right? If there's an attack happening, let's say there's a PowerShell script running and exporting the data in a mass volume, it will alert you. It can take action to prevent that happening. You can actually go into very deep analysis instantly in real time, exactly what is happening in the environment. It can also automatically create a ticket, a severity ticket, log into your ITSM tool, or it also comes with a built-in tool so that you can track until the incident has been closed. Yeah. So data is an oxygen for any SIM. In the past, many of the SIM deployment has not been useful for the business as they are supposed to because of lack of integration or the complexity of integration. So Sentinel solves this problem amazingly by bringing the built-in connectors. So as I mentioned about Office 365, that same is applicable for many of the firewall, non-vendor firewalls, including the multi-cloud or third-party cloud, for example, Amazon. You can actually just plug and play the logs from various sources, from your proxy servers, the client endpoint. It's very easy to collect the data. And the moment the data is in Sentinel, it uses the orchestration to bring the insights to you. Let's take a look at quick benefit of what does Sentinel brings in. So there's no upfront cost like legacy solutions. You can instantly get started without a capex investment in that. There's no infrastructure maintenance cost involved. It's all delivered as a service. There's a simple pricing model based on the data, and there are commit-based discounts. So commercially, it makes amazing to start for any business, any size of business. You can get started with using this power. One of the biggest advantages you get is you can reduce the false positive by 93%. And it comes from various intelligence it's gathering from the threat intelligence feed as well as the built-in, the intelligence. When we look at this data, 93% reduction in the false positive is actually going to save you on alert fatigue. And alert fatigue is a very known term for anybody who's been operating SOC or Security Operations Center, where the manpower has been focusing on the alert that does not matter, and that means the alert that matters, does not get the attention. Take a look at the next technology that we'll talk about, Azure Security Center. What is that? Okay, how does it help you prevent, detect, and respond to the threats? So Azure Security Center provides you tools needed to secure your services, provide advanced threat protection across your hybrid workloads. So what does it mean when I say hybrid? So it does not matter whether you're on-premise or onto the cloud. The three technologies that we're talking and many other from Microsoft's portfolio, they works across hybrid ecosystem. That means regardless of where your servers, your data centers, your users are, be it on cloud, onto Azure, multi-cloud, or on-premise, these technologies are relevant and they help you. So Security Center helps you to protect both Windows as well as the Linux servers. Yeah, I know it's a long known now that Microsoft loves Linux, So it works for all sort of operating system. There is an agent that gets installed called Log Analytic Agent that gives the insight that the Azure Security Center needs to help you in the prevention. It comes with 2 tiers, a free tier as well as a standard tier. So if you are already on Azure or if you are taking a journey to Azure, free tier is enabled on all your Azure subscription by default. Yeah, it provides you security policy, continuous assessment, actionable insight from your environment, amazing power that you get on Azure. But even if you're not on Azure or you want to take the step to upgrade to the standard tier, with a very attractive commercial offering, it brings amazing power to your environment. For example, it will extend your vulnerability assessments. There's a built-in vulnerability assessment capabilities of Azure Security Center. I'll give you a dashboard view, and I'll try to share a screen where you see in action, how does it provides you the value. The standard tier will also add a threat protection capabilities, which will use the built-in behavior analytics. That means it will know what is normal versus abnormal and get you actionable insight. What is amazing to see, it will also tell you how you can remediate that. So not just pointing what is wrong, it also going to fetch the knowledge base article, give you on a fingertips what must be done immediately to prevent the scenario that you are in. Isn't it amazing? All right, let's take a look at this. So as you can see on the screen, some of the dashboard views, which shows you what is red, what is amber. Yeah, so you can actually prioritize. We all have finite resources in terms of time. So if you have Security Operations Center running a couple of people trying to monitor and watch, you can immediately prioritize what matters most and what should be remediated first. And as you go, it's intuitive GUI. As you go into depth, you will see further details as I'm displaying on the screen as to why this score is what it is today, which controls or evaluation criteria has been applied in the data. And if you see, all this is coming because of the power of using AI, ML, and extended data lakes that can be built on Azure. So even if you are ingesting thousands of servers logs into the system, you do not have to plan the capacity or do the capacity assessment. This is all delivered as a service to you. So it will periodically analyze your environment, will keep you posted on what is going on. It also provide you recommendation on how you can remediate, as I mentioned. So if you see at the screen, I know there must be lag, so I'll just take a pause. So the screen is showing you a vulnerability that has been found in a SQL server. If you look at the screen, it's also giving you the remediation logic, right? So you can actually understand how you can fix what is going on. So not just telling you, but also consulting. All right, so with that, we're moving to the next technology that we'll talk is Azure ADB. Okay, and I'll ask a question, and I know it is not a poll, that does your environment uses Active Directory? If there was a poll, I would say majority of the users will say yes, their organizations in some way is using Active Directory as an identity store. Right? It has been a flagship technology for identity in the enterprise or even the small businesses. So how do you protect that, and why does it matter to protect, making sure your Active Directory is not being used to compromise something? Yeah, a single compromised user account can be a starting point of a very large scale breach, because identity plays a critical role in our infrastructure. It assigns, who has power to do something and who doesn't have, what is going on when the user behaviors, right? Who's trying to log on with a bad password, what malware is trying to access the network resources using enumerating the access credentials, for example. All that is taken care if you have a close watch on your authentication system. So protecting Active Directory is ultra critical. Azure ATP basically provides you ability to monitor your Windows Server Active Directory, your on-prem AD, as we know that. It uses a sensor called ATP sensor that gets installed directly on a domain controller. So there's no complex or long cycle of deployment. Yeah, it sends the data to a cloud-based analytic monitoring system and detection and investigation system, which will in return get you the alert, get you the insight of what your environment. So by this, ATP is helping you to detect and investigate advanced attacks even before that take care or do the damage, right? So you can identify the persistent threat before they cause the big damage, which is amazing return to the business. So to understand a little bit more, let's take this last technical screen. Yeah, it may be boring for the people who are not aware about a methodology called kill chain. So I'll just take a moment to explain what is a kill chain. It's a modern way of mapping the series of steps that happens in a progression of a cyber attack, right? So the kill chain is a very widely accepted terminology now. I think Lockheed Martin brought into the inception. Reconnaissance is the first stage of such attacks, and it goes up to the data exfiltration, where the malicious attack has been able to grab access to the data it requires or do the damage that it wanted to. So what happens in reconnaissance, right? So it is a discovery enumeration of your domain structure. So many of these malwares will try to get what is your user ecosystem looks like, what identity store looks like, what can be a common used accounts in your system, right? This ATP, by just deploying the simple agent, you are immediately protected because it has built-in intelligence to identify all these non-attacks and will give you alert as well as do a preventative measures around that. Yeah. So if there's a compromised credentials which is trying multiple password, the attacker is trying to breach it, you will get an alert. You can actually lock that account. Even as you move forward in the kill chain for the lateral movements. So if there is a there is a two computer using the same ticket, and I know it's a technical terminology, but ticket is the way how you get access to the resource, it will alert you. Yeah, so it is getting an X-ray view, somebody persistently monitoring your Active Directory for healthy status and unhealthy status, knowing what is normal, what is unnormal. Even the comprehensive or complex attack, which are very common nowadays, for example, DC shadowing, it prevents you from that. So DC shadowing means somebody can just replicate the domain controllers and falsify the information and breach into your network. By using ATP, Azure ATP, you can prevent that. Golden Gate and many other, we can talk hours and hours on just this technology. And it's amazing to get started where it is just makes so easy to, implement and achieve. And it is real time. So it is not that next week of happening an alert or attack you're getting to know. It's real time. Every signal is being uploaded to the to the cloud-based ecosystem, which is immediately running queries and getting back with the results to you. Great. So how does it matter in the real world, right? These three technologies, Sentinel providing you SIEM and SOAR solution, the Azure Security Center and ITP. How does it relate back to a digital transformation journey? So we saw in a poll, there are many people are concerned with their cloud journey. So as you can see, it's a case study that we have recently deployed for a very large organization. Yeah, so the customer is a very large government entity supporting more than 60 other government entity. So you can understand the critical, the data and the endpoints that they deal with and the sensitivity of the project, right? So they had a mandate to move to cloud, move to Azure to increase their scale, increase their availability, overcoming the legacy infrastructure or data center hurdles they had, adopt or leverage advanced cloud capabilities. So they were migrating to Azure. Their CISO as well as the information security team were quite concerned. How would they keep up with this digital transformation while maintaining the stringent security requirements they were? And how would they replace the existing technologies? So they had SIEM, a long-known, well-known, stabilized SIEM solution, already tightly integrated with complex environment. How would they replace that as they move into the cloud? How would they improve their security posture in the constrained budget, right? So budget is constrained. It's not a surprise in recent time. How would they not just match the current security posture, but improve it? So Microsoft recommended Cloud4C as a partner. We used plenty of, as you can see from the screen, I know it's difficult to read, it's a very busy slide, plenty of security technologies, including Sentinel, putting a lot of automations, runbook, Jupyter runbooks, logic apps, orchestrating a lot of tasks in an expedited project where we matched the migration timeline, exceeded the expectation around the timeline, at the same time improved the security posture as they're adopting to the cloud. And that's where having an ease of integration, a unified security portfolio, which is tightly integrated as it is, it just makes the life easy. Yeah, you do not have to figure out how 3 or 5 or 20 tools are going to talk to each other. It's a single ecosystem which is designed for integration. So 60+% are saying that they have not adopted, and I will come to that why it is still a big number. So despite the fact that every passing day, particularly by introducing Azure Sentinel, Microsoft has done an amazing job for making it easier for people to get started. But why still there is a big gap? Now we've already stabilized. This is an amazing power for a CISO to have a visibility of their environment, right? If you are from a regulated industry, you are actually forced to deploy this solution for FISMA, for PCI, for NERC, for HIPAA, SOX, PII. It is a mandatory requirement to have, a SIEM solution. But those industries or companies which are not regulated, they're still adopting it as a very fast pace. The reason is everybody would want to have a log management, a case management, a continuous monitoring and incident response for their security posture. But still we see 60% people have not deployed. What can be the reason? So the common pattern and challenge that we see, people find it difficult to get started. Okay, procurement cycle and the initial capex requirement for the sophisticated tools is huge. It's difficult to get a business case approved for that. So there are a variety of challenges, complexity, where to start, what to prioritize, risk management. Whenever they do a risk management, they'll find the obvious technologies like DDoS preventions, which are very commonly known. They get easy buy-in because they can convince the management, versus in essential technologies like this just take a lag or backseat because of complexity. Now let me articulate the amazing value that we are bringing along with Microsoft. Cloud4C is bringing this offer where we can help you to get started at no cost to you. We'll do a free assessment, and let me address that. Despite being free, it's a very comprehensive assessment that we do, and we'll go through the steps that we, the process that we take to deliver this for you. So it's an investment that Cloud4C as well as Microsoft is making in your success. Yeah. So when you opt in for this offer, what do you get out of it? So stage 1 for any such implementation of a security tool is assessment. Understanding where you stand today, because this project will be contextual to your requirement, your industry, your current state, whether you're hybrid, whether you're in public cloud, you're going into the Azure, or you're maintaining coexistence, for example, and your scale. That matters a lot, right? So we will understand that. It starts with understanding, what is your current environment, explaining you what an SIEM and SOAR, how it can mitigate your threats. How would you experience it? Showing you demonstration, making your teams interact with the system so that you can experience what does it mean by using Sentinel, right? We'll discover and do a data analysis of your actual environment. We'll plan your next steps. So with assessment, you get your current state. What is the current state of your posture, the threats, perceived threats, and agreed mutually that these are the non-threats, and the next step, agreeing to the next step. As part of the same engagement, we also help you to deploy and get started with the solution. So we'll help you, if you look at the middle block, integration. So something that has been always a showstopper of being able to integrate, will help you with that. We'll put connectors in place so that you can ingest the data required for that. We'll define the data sources. Many of these customers are not sure which data should be going into the tool like SIEM, so we'll help you to define that. and we'll set up some playbooks so you can actually experience the orchestration. How does it help, right? And from there, you can opt in for Cloud4C to manage and operate the service for you if you see the benefit, but it's opt out. You can opt out as well, that if you have skill set and confidence to run these technologies by yourself, feel free to do that. So it's a very comprehensive offer that we're bringing, helping you to get started with the common blockers. So those 60%, you don't have to be on fences. Instead of putting business on a perceived risk, you should get started. And the amazing resources available of why these technologies are gaining traction. Yeah. So this offer, if you want to opt in, there is a survey page that we are displaying. Feel free to fill in your information. Let me just quickly show you that this is not just it's a very detailed assessment that we have developed. There are various stages of any project like this, as you can appreciate. I'll quickly take another 1 minute to explain what will happen once you sign up for this offer. We'll do a pre-engagement call of roughly about 2 hours, where we'll understand where you stand today, the stakeholders, the risk, explaining you about the technology. From there, there'll be a stage for setup. And the setup stage will be about, will last for a couple of days to a week, where we'll do a kickoff. We'll define the scope of engagement. We'll also do a technical setup. So setting up the trial, setting up the connectors, all that is including for you at no cost to you. From there, the environment will be monitored for 3 weeks, for 2 to 3 weeks on average, depending on the scale. And at the end of third week, we'll come back with the results, with the presentation and the next step. It's a joint mutually agreed next step of what is the results, what is that we have found, how you can leverage these technologies, and so on.
Hello everyone, thanks for having me here. I hope you all doing good, safe during this pandemic situation. Right, so my name is Kiran. I'm a senior cloud solution architect working for Microsoft in Singapore, and then I work with a lot of partners like Cloud4C in the region. For next 10-15 minutes, I will take you through the Microsoft cybersecurity briefing. There is a lot of solutions which Microsoft has built in. So my idea of today's session was to take you through those solutions, and then if you have any requirements, or if you want to know further deeper on the solutions and the technologies which I'm going to cover, please do reach out to Cloud4C team or Microsoft, and we'll be more than happy to take you through that. With that, now a lot of customers today in the market, and this is something we often hear from customers, that Microsoft is not a security company. Yes, we were not a few years ago, but then we have done a significant investments on building our solutions, and the commitment is actually coming directly from our CEO, and this is his quote, telling like, security is our top priority, and we are actually committed to provide a world-class platform, cybersecurity for our customers across the globe. And Hitesh just talk about it, but then just to let you know that Microsoft has been investing almost $1 billion on an annual basis just on research and development purpose for cybersecurity solutions. Now, what we have done with that kind of an investment is that we built something like this. Now, this is Microsoft's cybersecurity reference architecture. I know it looks very, very complex for you. I do have a message: cybersecurity is complex, right? So you definitely need multiple solutions. There is no single silver bullet for you to solve your cybersecurity challenges, right? You need solutions across many different resources in order to protect your users, your identities, your devices, your data, your cloud, your applications, right? So that's where we come in. We come in as a platform providers, and we want to be your platform of choice, especially for your cybersecurity solutions. Now, even though the slide looks so complex, let me help you here to break it down into pieces, and then let me take you through a journey of how most of the customers today are, and when they have actually moved on to the cloud, like what are the things they need to look into it, and what are the different strategies you need to build, especially on the cybersecurity side. Now, this is how most of the customers' network, right? Your network is about. So you have a strong the network perimeter with intranet, extranet zones, and within your extranet, you have a strong DMZ zone, which will basically control your incoming, outgoing traffic. And then you have solutions like firewalls, next-gen firewalls, edge DLPs, intrusion prevention, intrusion detection solutions, right? So this is typically most of your network environment. And now slowly what happened is we have seen, customers like you started embracing, the technologies or the trends like BYOD, bring your own device kind of concepts, right? So when you embraced, it also gave you a lot of flexibility for your users to work on the choice of their own device, which they are comfortable with. But at the same time, it also brought a lot of IT risk, because now you are allowed your corporate data on those unmanaged devices. So who will manage those devices? What if the device is compromised, jailbroken, or rooted? And if your corporate data is running on it, then how do you ensure those are protected, right? So there are a lot of risk came into picture. Now, large enterprises also started having their own SOC center, security operations center, and most of the times this has been an on-premises environment, right? So you have a lot of SIEM solutions, vulnerability management kind of solutions in order to manage and maintain your network. Now we have seen of late that the lot of data, a lot of corporate data actually getting leaked on your endpoints. So that is why solutions like Endpoint DLP evolved, and customers started embracing or started using Endpoint DLP solutions. Now you need to centralize everything. You need a centralized management, right? So you need a directory services. And today, the most used, almost 80–90% of the customers today are familiar with, or rather they are actually using Microsoft Active Directory services, as their directory services, and they have centralized everything, right? Now, we have seen in the past 5–6 years, cloud adoption, cloud transformation has picked up really, really well. A lot of customers have seen the benefits and the potential opportunity to save costs, right? By taking out their existing infrastructure, like Exchange servers, for example. They can get rid of the entire Exchange server architecture infrastructure, and then they can simply move on to the Office 365, which is completely taken care by Microsoft. So it's a software as a service. So likewise, Office 365 is the #1 software as a service today globally in the world. But then there are a lot of hundreds and thousands and millions of cloud-based applications, and customers are going and using them. And the employees are going and using them without even telling or notifying their IT. And there are a lot of corporate data which are running on it, right? Now, we have also seen, first was BYOD, then cloud, then now IoT kind of technologies are also coming in. Now, naturally, when you have these kind of scenarios in your environment, you are falling into a hybrid cloud infrastructure, naturally, because now you have cloud services, you have IoT technologies like, BYOD devices coming in. So you're kind of automatically falling into that category, like hybrid cloud infrastructure. Right now, when you are into that kind of a scenario, you need a vendor, you need a cloud data center vendor whom you can trust, and that can be Microsoft for you. And you can actually see that if you go to Microsoft Trust Center, you can basically look at how Microsoft manages your data, how we protect your privacy, how we are compliant with a lot of industry regulations. Today we have more than 90+ industry certifications, regional and global as well. So it might be FinRight, it might be ISO standards, it might be GDPR. Microsoft is compliant to all these industry regulations and compliance requirements. So you can definitely trust. And if you go to trustcenter.com, you can actually see all the audit reports which we go through almost every month. There is some sort of auditing happening on our cloud data centers. And you can actually see those audit reports directly on our website. You can actually download them and then go through it. What does the audit report say all about Microsoft environment? Now, we have seen customers, not only they are using software as a service, but they are also started using infrastructure as a service. So now they started realizing the opportunity, the potential, and the security when they actually move their existing on-premises workloads onto the cloud. Right now, when you move onto the cloud with the infrastructure as a service, you also need a similar setup like your network perimeter, like your DMZ zone, right? So Microsoft and Azure, basically, we have a lot of integration with our security vendors. So we have, you can actually see there are a lot of security appliances like Palo Alto, Checkpoint, Cisco. So with just click of a button, you can actually activate these kind of services to protect your the infrastructure, which are running on Microsoft Azure. Now, not only that, we have built a lot of other capabilities like Azure Security Center, which Hitesh has taken you through, right? So I'll not talk more in detail about it. But then to protect your Azure infrastructure, Microsoft has actually built a number of other security solutions like Azure policies, web application firewalls, anti-malwares, DDoS attacks, mitigations, and so on. So which you can actually use it. So it's completely secure. So you have all the required solutions to protect your own environment. Now, Microsoft, even though the cloud has become more prominent, we never stopped our investments on giving you the best on-premises solutions. Like our latest one is Windows Server 2019. So we have built in a lot of security capabilities into this particular server operating system as well. Not only that, even with Windows 10, we have built in a lot of security solutions. So one of the Microsoft cybersecurity strategy is it's all built in, not bolt on. You don't need to install anything. Even to install to have an antivirus and anti-malware, you don't need to install any kind of agent. It is part of Windows 10 operating system. All you need to do is like activate the service, and then you have a world-class Defender ATP antivirus, anti-malware with the EDR capabilities running in no time. And we do have built a lot of other security capabilities like we have credential guard, exploit guard, application guard, full disk encryptions, attack surface reductions, behavior monitoring. A lot of security capabilities are actually built into the OS itself. Plus, we have solutions like PaaS, where your admins can actually use to maintain, manage, and configure your entire network, entire environment. And then what we have seen today is like, when you are in a hybrid cloud environment, Microsoft recommends that your first strategy should be strong identity and access management, because now everything falls around your identities, right? Because during this pandemic situation, you have seen that your employees, your users are working from home, right? That means, they are like become a remote users. How do you ensure they are secure? How do you ensure they are securely connecting to your environment, right? One of the ways is like having all those security solutions, but then the crucial factor here is like your identities. If there is an identity compromise happens, right, and hacker can easily access your Office 365 data, your G Suite, or your Salesforce data without even coming inside your network, right? So the first strategy is about having a strong identity and access management solution. And with Microsoft, we have the entire pillar to help you protect your identities, your username and passwords. We have solutions for different use cases, like you have identity protection, which can actually give you a scenario about who are the risky sign-ins, it's risky users in your environment, risky sign-ins which are happening into your environment. So it can actually give you that kind of visibility. MFA can almost stop the identity theft for almost 99.9%. So we have MFA solutions. We have Azure AD, business to business, business to customer solutions. There are a lot of security capabilities into these areas as well. We also have Hello for Business. So this is our innovative solution where we are going passwordless. So Microsoft is going passwordless. So almost 180,000 users inside Microsoft, the employees of Microsoft, we never type passwords to log into our own machines, to our own laptops. So we use Hello for Business. Using that, we either use our biometrics or iris scanners or face recognition technologies in order to log into our laptops, and which is in turn integrated with Azure Active Directory. So It has a single sign-on for hundreds of other applications we use inside our organizations. Plus, with MFA coming in, with conditional access solutions coming in, we have all the securities which are required, to protect. Now we also have all the solutions. We have a strong integration to your SOC center. So using the Graph Security APIs, you can actually stream all the alerts, all the logs into your the SOC. So if you're running an on-premises SOC, you can actually use Security Graph API to integrate them. Or you can also use the number of Microsoft solutions inside your SOC. Azure Security Center, Hitesh was talking about. We have Cloud App Security, we have Defender ATP, we have Office 365 ATP, Azure ATP, which can actually help you, give you the visibility of what kind of threats are happening inside your environment for endpoints, for users, for emails, for network, everything. Plus, with Azure Sentinel, we also have our own SIEM plus SAR capability, which Hitesh has actually covered. So it's our SIEM solution, 100% cloud native. You don't need to have any kind of on-premises infrastructure. Everything runs on cloud. With literally with just 1 or 2 clicks, you can actually have a SOC environment up and running in no time. Plus, we do have a lot of information protection solutions. So that's our second strategy. So the first strategy for our customer is to protect identities. The second strategy, Microsoft recommendation, is about how do you protect your data, which is running in your laptops, in your for repositories, on your cloud applications, data which is at rest, at move, right? So we have the entire information protection pillar, which can help you out in many different use case scenarios. So we have Azure Information Protection, which can actually help your data when it is actually moving. So the protection stays with the file. It's a classification and labeling solution from Microsoft. So you can actually apply your classification and labeling and then apply protection. And no matter where the file travels, the protection stays with the file. So only authorized people will be able to open the file. So that's how we actually protect at a file level. Plus, we also have a number of other solutions like Office 365 DLP, solutions for your Office 365 environment. We have Cloud App Security, which can actually become a gateway between your users and cloud applications, and then give you the visibility of all the user activities across cloud applications and the data of your organizations. Plus, we have a lot of other investments on our Azure SQL environment as well. Plus, Microsoft is also investing heavily and acquiring a lot of good solutions to protect your IoT environment as well. So that's a kind of Microsoft reference architecture. I know I've run through it very fast, but that gives you an idea of how this entire architecture comes into picture. So one of the strong differentiators of this architecture is the integration, how these solutions talk to each other, exchange signals, and then protect your entire environment. So we have out-of-the-box integration from identity access management to information protection to the threat management and to the Azure Sentinel and Azure Security Center. Now, when it comes to the credibility perspective, like today, Microsoft is recognized leaders in almost all these Gartner Magic Quadrants, like access management, cloud security brokers, the endpoint protection platforms. Defender ATP is our leaders. We are the leaders, and we have surpassed Symantec or CrowdStrike. We have much more capability than them. Unified endpoint management. So we are the leaders over there. So we have a strong endpoint management solutions today. We have CASB or MCAS, Microsoft Cloud App Security, which is the leader again in Gartner Magic Quadrant for all the cloud access security brokers. So with that, I think a lot of information here for you, right? But let me stop it here. If you have any questions, please feel free to use your Q&A panel. We will be here. We will take up those questions and help you answer that. If you have further more questions, please contact Cloud4C reps. I think they can actually help you out with getting your strategies, your cybersecurity strategies right.
So Kiran, thank you so much for that comprehensive rundown. I remember you saying that slide typically you cover in an hour, so thanks for doing that in 15 minutes. Like you said, very, very comprehensive. So let's So I covered this in my session earlier that cloud customers are typically not comfortable moving to cloud, and security is a key concern. And
Yeah.
you're talking about Sentinel as a tool, which is cloud native, cloud-based tool. How would
Yeah.
how have you seen? How does Microsoft give that confidence to the customer to put their security onto a cloud native tool? Can you just address that, please? Thank you.
Yeah, sure, Manish. I think it's a good question, and it's a very relevant question for today's scenario. I've seen the poll where a lot of customers are still hesitant to move on to the cloud, right? It's understood. Uh, 5 years ago, a lot of customers had these challenges, and they were thinking the cloud is not safe or secure. But today, you look at it, a lot of customers automatically are in a hybrid cloud kind of an environment, right? Now, when it comes to Azure Sentinel, how we do it, right? So we have seen ML and AI, machine learning and artificial intelligence, actually holds a great promise in addressing many of the global cyber challenges, the cyber threats which are happening today, which we see today, right? And this ML and AI, machine learning and AI, actually gives our cyber defenders, our security analysts, an ability to identify, detect, and block the malwares almost instantaneously, right? And with Azure Sentinel, that's exactly what we do. I mean, we use machine learning and AI. And what we have done is like, now I've spoken about many different resources or use cases in an organization, right? Right from identities to users to data to endpoints to their servers to the cloud applications, right? There are a lot of data comes in, and SIM solutions needs to collect those logs, aggregate it, and then do a correlate, and then come out having the visibility of what's happening in their environment. Now with the Sentinel, what we have done is like we have simplified those data collections. Now, when we actually announced Azure Sentinel, which is a cloud-based SIM solution, a lot of customers thought that this is a way for them to reduce their on-premises infrastructure or on architecture and get better visibility and investigative capabilities, right? Customers realized that Azure Sentinel can actually give you a completely different experience. Now you can, when it comes to the data collection, you can actually get the logs literally in just one click. You know, we have the connectors which Hitesh was talked about. So we have 56 connectors today in Azure Sentinel, which actually connects to most of Microsoft services like Defender ADP, CASB, Azure ATP, Azure Security Center. Plus, we also have third-party data connectors, which is connecting to the customers' firewalls like FortiGate or Palo Alto, like F5. So you have connectors, you can connect them in no time and then see the data flowing in back into the Sentinel, and Sentinel start doing the correlation and then giving the data visibility. So that's super fast, super expensive. I've seen partners going after customers and then enabling the entire SOC environment in 24 hours, or rather in 48 hours. They are actually seeing almost 40 to 50% of their environment's data in a SIM solution, and then have that one pane of glass, unified pane of glass, and looking at what are the threats, what are the attacks, which are happening in their environment. Now, customers.
Sorry. Yeah. No,
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Now, customers are also like, we have seen there are a lot of challenges with the traditional SIM where they have to build a lot of custom use cases, right? In order to detect the threats, in order to ensure the investigation flow is happening, right? But with Azure Sentinel, we have hundreds of built-in use cases where our customers can actually leverage it. So that's again reduces a lot of overhead on security professionals. They can use the built-in use cases, and then they can use Azure Sentinel in order to detect and then take necessary actions. Now, the data is again very, very crucial. So we turn the data into many useful insights. So I told you, right, we use machine learnings and then we detect anomalies based on various log activities, and we correlate them into incidents for further investigations, right? So the lot of capabilities using machine learning and AI, we actually turn the data into very meaningful insights, as well as we use automation. So Hitesh talked about Azure Sentinel is also a SOAR, security orchestration, automation, and remediation, right? So we use lot of automation capabilities inside Sentinel, and you can basically automate and then reduce your your regular workloads almost 70 to 80% of the time. So when an alert triggers, so let me explain you how this automation works, right? So when an alert triggers for a bad IP address, so you can actually create a playbook where Azure Sentinel, when this particular alert is triggered, it will automatically send or create an incident in ServiceNow ticketing system, right? And then it actually sends out a message in the team's channel for a security team. They are having a security channel over there, so that they know what's happening. There is an alert, something on bad IP address. And then after further investigation, if an IT analyst says, okay, this is not false positive, this is real, so let me block this particular IP address. So he just clicks on approve, and Azure Sentinel would actually automatically ask Palo Alto Firewall if that is something customers are using. It will actually automatically block that particular IP address. So this is just one simple use case which can actually reduce a lot of effort for a security analyst, right? But then they have seen Azure Sentinel, a lot of customers have at least 200 to 300 more use cases in their environment. So that's how we help us do that. Yeah.
Sounds good,
Manish?
Kiran. Thank you so much. Yep. Manish,
Manish,
you want to say?
in the interest of time, I think we should move to the panel.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Maybe let's bring in the rest of the panels. We have multiple heavyweights. So if you can let me invite Hans. Hi, Hans. How are you? Thanks for joining.
Good morning, everyone.
Sir Angel, you can click on your video. Hi, Avinash. Thanks for joining.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being on standby. I hope you were enjoying the discussion as well. So let me welcome everybody. Sir Angel, thanks for being here. Thanks for your time. Maybe the first question to Sir Angel from EPLDT Group. He's the group CISO. So I guess the practitioner, one of the most experienced that probably we have on the panel. Sir Angel, in terms of the infrastructure that you have deployed within EPLDT to manage your own security environment, can you give us your view in terms of maybe how you see the cloud solutions and the hybrid between cloud and on-prem security solutions, and how have you seen the SOC environment evolve over the past 3 to 5 years? Maybe just give us your view, a CISO view, if you can, please.
Okay, thank you, Manish, and good morning to everyone. What we have set up is not actually only for the infrastructures of EPLDT. So I'm also handling the PLDT group and Smart as a group CISO. So the SOC that we have built protects internal infrastructure as well as external. So we are able to just like what was presented, the SOC using the machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we have that in full service since 2 years already, or more than 2 years, and it's using the cloud. In the perspective of our external third-party clients and even related parties, we remove the effort. We remove the burden of our third-party and related party customers to build their own. They can, as mentioned earlier, they can have the full suite of cybersecurity end-to-end, both horizontal and vertical, in an instance. It's like providing you the people, providing you the technology, providing you the framework and the intelligence. So we are no longer using SOC we are no longer using SIEM to talk about SOC. We are talking about the Security Operations Center that has everything. There's a threat intelligence in it. There's a threat hunting operation in it. The SIEM is while it is being used as a log aggregator or a log collector in this case, we are also doing the threat correlation on the use case level on SIEM. However, we made sure that our people are capable of creating use cases, because that has always been the mistake. You know, companies and organizations who can afford to buy SIEM, they buy SIEM, but the expertise in creating the use case to do a successful threat correlation is not there. So what do? They rely on the off-the-shelf use cases that comes with the SIEM, and it's probably more than 50% false positive. It's not very effective, and in turn, going to the terminology that was mentioned, they became overwhelmed with false positive incident notifications, right? And these organizations, because it is not their core competence, the cybersecurity is not their core competence, it's not their business, so they cannot put dedicated people to do this on a 24/7. Okay, so others also, they bought SOAR with the threat intelligence capability. But the question there is, where will you get your threat intelligence information for you to be able to process and use it to correlate against the logs that you also receive? Because you need to be able to do that, right? And there's a lot of sources. So, for example, buying a firewall. Okay, probably any organization can buy a firewall, whether not expensive or expensive. But the question now is, can you put one person or two persons or three persons to just look at the logs, whether there are blocked or prevented incidents? No organization is doing that, because they are just relying on the events of the hardware, right? And we all know that firewalls can be bypassed. So when it is bypassed, there's no event, there's no incident logs, there's no notification. It seems everything is okay. So that's where the gap is coming from. Now, this technology that was just explained earlier really makes a lot of sense, because we can now say that similar to what we are doing, we are now telling the enterprise and all organizations that allow us to take care of the cybersecurity of your organization. And you can have it in an instant. Just sign the contract, you can have it. This should be our direction, right? So yes, this is very timely, and especially now that everyone is working from home.
Sounds good, Sir Angel. And let me throw the question now to Avinash. So Avinash, you heard Sir Angel, he's talking about multiple false positive limited use cases, and I want your comments in terms of that. How does automation help? That is one. And also in terms of your role as a regional role across APAC, you meeting customers who are trying to address security challenges. How have you seen the SOC evolve again in your experience over the last few years?
I think, as Sir Angel mentioned correctly, the SOC teams are totally overwhelmed, right? I mean, a survey that was done says 70% of SOC personnel are overwhelmed just with number of alerts, false positives, and not being able to focus on the critical ones. So clearly, there is a need for curated alerts to be delivered to the SOC analysts, so that when they are involved in an alert or incident, they really know what to focus on. And a lot of this is going to be done through machine learning and AI. And throughout the sessions, as you've seen, with tools like Sentinel that use machine learning and AI, they can pull in all the alerts, give you the curated incidents or the high fidelity alerts, and allow you to focus on them. The other thing that is also important is, of course, if there's a high fidelity alert, obviously it will get flagged out. But what about the low fidelity alerts that will eventually add up to an incident? And that's really where a tool like Sentinel can come back and look at all these low fidelity alerts and tell you, okay, this is probably an incident or a compromise that is happening. The third part is really about, how do you use automation? Because a lot of times customers build their own tools around automation. With Sentinel, we've got a SOAR capability built in. You can write your playbooks, you can orchestrate it to the point where remediation can happen, or an administrator authorizes the remediation. So with automation, I think that will help to solve a lot of the problems, especially like if a patch is missing on an endpoint, you can go ahead and automate it to the fullest, in the sense that full remediation can happen. Or if it's for a server, then you want an admin to come in and click on that. So across the board, across APAC, we see increasingly customers wanting to look at as they transition from on-prem solutions to cloud or hybrid solutions, there is a need for a cloud scale SIEM type solution that can sit in the cloud, scale in the cloud without worrying about compute and storage, but at the same time leverage the capabilities of machine learning, AI, and have the ability to also write your own playbooks and do better incident handling.
Sounds good, Avinash. Thank you so much. So let me throw the next question to Hans. So Hans, you are leading the Azure business group across Philippines. Thanks for joining. Can you give us your view? What kind of security issues, concerns that you see customers in Philippines addressing? I mean, cloud-based, we are talking about Sentinel being a cloud-native, cloud-based tool. And as we know, Azure doesn't have a center in Philippines at the moment. Is there confusion between with the customers in Philippines that against sort of adopting Sentinel as a tool, or any other concerns that you see in the local market?
Yeah, let me answer that question, Manish, in the form of an actual customer story that we've had recently. Now, when the pandemic happened and when the lockdown started in the middle of March, one of the biggest banks in the Philippines suddenly found themselves in a situation where they need to get their officers continue to work from home, which is something that they have not been doing and they're not used to, right? So you're talking about loan officers who need to approve loans, financial officers who need to continue to talk to their top customers, branch officers who need to approve workflows, and all of these are happening in applications that run on their PC, which is stuck in their office that they can't get to because of the quarantine. So the first thing that they did was to adopt Office 365, because of what I mean, we have to talk, we have to collaborate similar to what we're doing, how they're doing now. That's one. The second thing is they used Windows Virtual Desktop to give the essential workers of the bank to continue to operate as if they are actually physically in the bank. Now, how does this relate to security? The CISO automatically said, well, this kind of opens up this kind of breaks open our security border to what it was within the bank in network to now outside of the network. So one of the first things that they actually did was to try out Azure Sentinel. The great thing about Sentinel and Security Center and all of these Azure-based tools, not only someone mentioned that we use AI to help the human beings make sense of all of these noisy and non-noisy security signals, so that you can have a curated set of alerts that then your professional security officers can then take a look and apply human intelligence to it. One of the first things that they did after deploying Office 365 and Windows Virtual Desktop is to try Azure Sentinel on Office 365, just so that they can get used to the fact that they're getting these security signals and reading logs from Office 365. Because let me tell you, during the first week of them deploying Office 365, Sentinel started ringing and told them and gave warnings about how this particular set of users are actually doing something funny and so on and so forth. But then, so initially the concern was, are we doing the right thing? Are we actually opening up our networks and introducing more problems into the bank rather than solving the continuous business? So now they have to strike a balance between ensuring people are working and needing to continue what they do despite the pandemic. At the same time, making sure that their their security borders are protected as well. So Azure Sentinel has been picking up. Yep, it is, albeit slowly, and that's understandable because the concept of, like Sir Angel said a while ago, a lot of people think of security as acquiring as much as hardware as they can and sticking it in their data center and hoping that their limited security skills can catch up with what the hardware is actually saying. And we all know that that's probably not gonna happen a lot. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're seeing. It's slowly adopting cloud-based and strong AI-based security systems to complement whatever they have already, and slowly but surely having a hybrid security environment.
Okay, so before I move on to the next step, can I ask to the next question? Can I ask somebody to put the feedback form link in the chat window? I believe some attendees may want to log off at some point, so I just want to make sure that they have the feedback form available to them. So that brings an interesting question, Hans, like you mentioned. So, and like Sir Angel mentioned as well, I think the customers are still more comfortable having on-prem infrastructure, whether it's firewalls or something else, because the cloud has this network element, right? It's across the network. Is that something that you see customers sort of pointing out that my firewall is in my next room or in the next data center, but your cloud security platform essentially is across a network layer? Is that something that you you see customers asking? Maybe Kiran or Avinash, any of you can take that question. Kiran, you have a view on that?
Maybe I'll start and then Kiran can add. Yeah, we get this question all the time in terms of customers saying, hey, you know, I've got stuff that I can see and feel in my data center, but when it goes to the cloud, you know, I don't know what's out in the cloud. So there is a perceived sense of security when it's on-prem and they own and manage it. But the reality is when you go to the cloud, you get cloud scale, you get better capabilities in the cloud from a service provider. And I'm using the word service provider here specifically because it's kind of known that when you go into a cloud model, you get better security. You know, today Microsoft, we have about almost 4,000 personnel looking at security. There aren't many organizations out there that can deploy that kind of personnel to get security and look at security from a research standpoint, as well as just, you know, looking at configurations and so on. So the cloud will offer you better security, better scale of security, as well as better configurations with machine learning, AI, and intelligence to power that. So you know, it's a good transition point for customers who are, you know, sitting on the fence. You know, security is one reason why customers move to the cloud, and we've seen a lot of customers who've been attacked and breached. You know, recently there was a DDoS attack in New Zealand. You'll see these type of customers who have on-prem, you know, infrastructure. Very difficult to sustain these kind of attacks. So you really need to move out to a better kind of service that will give them cloud scale as well.
Okay, thanks, Avinash. Kiran, any additional comments?
Yeah, yes, Manish. I was trying to unmute myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to add what Avinash said, right? Now, if you look at the Microsoft solutions, you know, we have a complete intelligent security solutions across identity, access management, information protection, threat protection, cloud security as well. So this will actually help customers secure their corporate data, manage their risk while taking the advantage of the cloud computing. Now, all the solutions are also integrated very, very well. So now, if you look at our own solutions like MDATP or Office 365, both are like, you know, cloud-based solutions, and they can actually have out-of-the-box integration. They can actually talk to each other. They can recognize, you know, what's happening. If Office 365 ATP detects any kind of malicious emails or an attachment or a malware, it will pass on a signal automatically to MDATP. MDATP would ensure, like, you know, all the endpoints within the organization is protected and secured. And if there are similar malwares out there, it can actually block, quarantine, or take necessary actions, right? So I think with the siloed point solutions, you can't build this kind of capability or an integration. You need modernized solutions like cloud solutions, which can actually give you that capability for a customer.
Sounds good, Kiran. Thanks. Sir Angel, go ahead. You had a comment as well.
I believe going full blast to the cloud depends on the organization. If the business can afford to put everything on the cloud, then there is also a corresponding cybersecurity services that any business can avail. But other businesses will also doing hybrid. Like us, telco, we cannot put everything on the cloud because we are catering to our telco customers. So
Yep.
what we are doing is a combination of cloud-based and on-prem based security. But the most important factor that needs to be considered is how you marry all these technologies, how you marry all the implementations, and provide you a single dashboard. Right? So you have all the gears everywhere, whether in the cloud, on-prem, whether on-site, off-site. But what is important is you can control everything in one dashboard. You have everything. You have the data analytics, you have the threat intelligence feeds, you have the threat correlation. So that makes things easier. Now it doesn't. It's not. I don't necessarily agree that or believe that in the cloud you are more secure. On-prem you are not more secure. It's probably the same as long as the right components are there, including the skills, right? Including the people. If it's there, and then you can buy the technology, you have the budget, and then you can make it run. You need to be able to conceptualize first. You need to be able to visualize everything, so that you can control everything in one sitting or in one area.
All right, that's good. Thank you, Sir Angel. Hans, you have a comment on that?
No, the only comment I have is related to what I just said also a while ago, is that the great thing about trying out security solutions and SIEM and SOAR solutions like Sentinel and Security Center is that it's already built into the environment. So a lot of our Azure customers, for instance, as part of their proper implementation, if you will, of making sure that their security baseline is solid, is to turn on Security Center. Now, a lot of customers say, I don't want to turn on Security Center, it's going to be additional cost, et cetera, but you'll be surprised of how much value you're going to get from that one single dashboard, like what Sir Angel said a while ago, of Security Center, telling you anything and everything about what's going on from your networks to your firewalls to third-party applications to database in a single dashboard. Not only that, but also give you recommendations on what to do. Now, all of this is not just guesswork. It's actually based on thousands upon thousands of combined machine and actual people man hours that get signals. I mean, think about it. I hope the audience thinks about this. It was mentioned a while ago that Microsoft is probably the biggest security provider in the world that nobody knows about. And think about this. How many Windows devices are actually connecting to the Windows Update service on a daily basis to download those updates? You're talking about millions of devices, and each of those devices, Microsoft actually kind of knows what's the status of those devices. So we know what's going on out there as far as Windows is concerned. How many user accounts are there in Office 365? And there are user accounts that have experienced several types of attacks, from the simplest malware attack to the biggest ransomware attacks. And we had all this experience in a massive database in Azure, so that when we start seeing these patterns in other customers, we definitely will say through the Security Center or Sentinel to say, hey, I've actually seen this pattern before. It happened to one of my customers in Europe, so you might want to be careful, and these are the things that you might want to do in case you might want to do to ensure that this thing does not happen to you. Now, in the security business, prevention is always better than solving when solving something that when it already happened. So you can never be too careful. If you've got a single pane of glass, the term that I like is, if you got a single pane of glass that tells you all of this stuff with very, very little false positives, then that's going to save you a lot of time. That's going to save you a lot of resources. And it also helps the education of your limited security staff. Just imagine, we have customers that come to us and say, by just looking at the security center and what SIEM is telling me and what CIT Sentinel is telling me, I'm actually learning a lot from what the systems are telling me about, particularly in the environment that I am watching over. So that's what I can share.
Thanks for that, Hans. So let me throw a question to Hitesh. So Hitesh, you spoke about being a security practitioner for many years, and you worked for multiple companies, large global companies, and managed global customers as well. Just talk about a little bit what Cloud4C offers on top of the Microsoft platform, what additional services, what additional value proposition that the customers can look out for from Cloud4C.
Yeah, thanks, Manish. So I think the biggest value that we bring in is the people expertise. People, process, and technology makes this triad of security is always about achieving CIA, as we say, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? So Microsoft has done an amazing job by creating this, this stack so simple. I would say, Kiran's slide says security is complex. It is, right? But when the integration is taken care and all these orchestration automation is built in place, it doesn't have to be complex for our customers, jointly for Microsoft as well as Cloud4C, right? So we use the power that Microsoft has given in our hands and combine it with our expertise, battle-tested methodologies of how we are helping businesses of all size to adopt this. Doing from an initial assessment where we map what should be what should be the focus of improving their security posture. How do you get these technologies started? Reducing the project timelines. So one of the challenges that we have seen people hesitant of adopting these technologies is long project cycles, 6 to 8 months that we're talking about. It's very common to have this project. Microsoft, technology as well as Cloud4C expertise can make it in weeks. In weeks, we can get you started realizing your business value, protecting your business. So I would say, if I had to summarize, I know it's a very comprehensive portfolio that we have for services, Manish. In the interest of time, I will say we'll bring in the expertise required for you to.
Okay, so essentially a services layer on top of the solutions that Microsoft. Thanks for that. So Angel, maybe one more last question. We run out of time, but maybe the final set of questions for a couple of panelists. So, Sir Angel, you mentioned in your comments that you see, so your environment is a mix of cloud and on-prem tools and solutions. You have built skills within your team. They're looking at use cases. They're trying to minimize false positives. So as a customer, as a consumer of all these technologies, looking at all these evolving threat perceptions, what are your top challenges? Yeah, just talk about your top 2 or 3 challenges that you see with respect to the current work from home environment or the next 6 months. How do you see, what kind of challenges do you foresee for your organization specifically?
Okay, so on the operations aspect, even during the COVID-19, when we started to work from home, we did not encounter issues and challenges because we were already doing the cloud-based and the on-prem based cybersecurity. So for our employees, as long as their laptops are connected to the internet, we are able to identify whether there are high-risk activities on the laptops or not. So it's reporting to our central management center. The challenge is on the people retention. We hire fresh grads. We train them. We have institutionalized the training. In 3 months' time, we can already have them do the work. Unlike before, wherein you hire a fresh grad and it will take you 1 year to 2 years before you get your ROI. But then if you hire the experienced professionals, because our operation is very unique, you will not be able to get that someone who can hit the ground running. So you're gonna have to train him, and then so paying a higher package and training him again for months. So it doesn't make sense. But then it worked so well until the COVID strike, wherein we had resignations, and we had difficulties hiring and onboarding fresh grads. No? So, well, that was during the first 3 months. On the fourth month, we started already to hire again fresh grads. But for organizations who cannot sustain the hiring capability, no, the moment you're especially with us, the moment a year after, no, a year after of working with us, the fresh grad becomes a high valued target to other organizations. So they get high paying salary offers. And millennials, they always go for they don't think about the long term, they don't think about the medical benefits. They just think about the 15 and 30 money that they will receive. So that's the challenge. In terms of operation, in fact, before the government declared a lockdown, the cybersecurity operations group of the PLDT group, EPLDT group, and SMART, we were already implementing a lockdown because we were anticipating for the government to declare a lockdown. So we already had our people. 20% is working in our security operations center. No going home, no going out, provided with food and everything. 80% is working at home, supporting and making sure that we are able to operate. Thank you, Manish.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, if you're not able to, I believe the other side of the COVID situation is, and a lot of people do not want to change jobs as well. So you are better able to retain your existing staff. So if you're not able to hire more people, at least you're able to retain the people that you have, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask Hans, maybe specific to the Philippines market. So you spoke about Sentinel, how and the security center, and how these are great great tools and solutions from the Microsoft portfolio. What are the opportunities area? I mean, which are the unexplored product solutions from the security portfolio? Maybe you want to talk about, or maybe just talk about the local challenges that you see customers facing in Philippines.
Same with Sir Angel a while ago. It's really the skill sets now. We find a lot of organizations, they have CISOs and they have security teams, but they're very limited. The hackers and the bad guys and everybody else on that side of the fence, they work 24/7, 365. But the people who protect us, they don't work 24/7, 365. So that's one of the things that we are hearing our customers tell us, that it's really an arms race and we're losing. There's data that's being stolen. It's not just about network penetration anymore. I like the attitude now, whereas before, because before the mindset was on prevention. Now it's on detection and mitigation. You assume that you're already under attack. It's a question of it's a question of whether you know about it, how fast you're going to be able to detect it, and how fast you can recover from it. So we try to tell our customers to not only spend infrastructure on prevention. Let's take the case of ransomware, and I saw from the little poll a while ago that people are most afraid of ransomware. How do you avoid ransomware? We all have the gentlemen in this panel all have answers on how to do that, right? Install the right malware. You make sure that the right security patches are installed. Your operating systems are always up to date, etc., 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 etc. But some people forget what to do when it happens. Okay, what do you do when it happens? First of all, something as simple as backing up all of your data. Like we have a few customers who said, how do I avoid ransomware? Well, you probably won't be able to do that. Let's think about it. You'll be able to protect yourself against it, but when it does happen, what do you do about it? So why not look at a simple solution to back up the data in your PCs to to a secure location that is also quite affordable. That is the cloud. So that when the ransomware strikes, you don't need to even talk to the person who perpetrated the attack. You just simply restore from
That's good.
from
Yeah, I think
from backup, and you automatically recover now.
absolutely. Hans, I completely resonate. And Manish, I'll just take a moment to, compliment what Hans sent actually. So we are seeing that we operate a state of art, a SOC facility helping customers day in, day out with their security operations, Hans, implementing Azure technologies and then using our expertise to run it on their behalf. As you rightly said, there's always, an action that you can take to make sure that something happens, and your incident response has to evolve to cater for the modern right. It's not when it happens, right? Many times you are not able to detect when it happens. You have no process and procedures to how to damage control that. So we see in our war zone scenarios, wherever a customer is going through and they are reactively coming to us, and we're willing to help them, bringing the process. As I say, process is usually not taken care of like as it is. It has to evolve. The threats are evolving. How would you respond? How would you open a war room, and who will have accountability to do what? How would you damage control and respond on that? How would you fit in your BCP as part of the security as well, right? I mean, BCP is not just being able to recover, it's also about a threat that is taken care. It can also trigger a BCP. So a people process technology always plays, and we are seeing it in the actual action field, where an incident response, a well-equipped security operations centers are usually the best, guess.
Sounds good. Thanks, Sitesh. Gentlemen, we are 20 minutes over, so I'll just maybe just go around the panel. Just any last comments, suggestions that you have, or recommendations that you have for the audience today. And while you think of those recommendations, I'll just make my own recommendations. So the feedback form QR code is on your screen now. You can fill up the feedback and sign up for the security assessment that Hitesh spoke about. And I think that would be good value for all of you. Maybe I will start with you, Avinash. Any recommendations for the audience? Final comments?
Sure. So I think the first one is, if you don't know you've been breached, just assume you've been breached, because attackers can be in your infrastructure for, statistically 99 days. But what we've seen in ASEAN is in excess of 2 years for some customers. So invest in detect capabilities. Of course, you have to do the protect side of things, but it's really about how quickly you can detect. And then have a good solid response plan in place. Oftentimes we've seen when customers have been breached, they don't know how to respond. They're scrambling to get the vendors on site. They may have it on paper, but they don't know how to execute it. So practice and do fire drills for cybersecurity. Yeah, so that's what I like.
Sir Angel, any recommendations for the audience, customers in the audience?
Okay, so probably not a very popular message, but we have seen the different technology in cybersecurity that every organization acquire. They have become more expensive, more intelligent, smarter than the previous years. So that's what I saw in my 25 years. We have implemented policies. We have complied to different standards: ISO 27001, PCI DSS, HIPAA, etc. But if you sit down and think about and ask yourself, is it effective? Is it really effective? Because I'd like to point you to the year-on-year increase in terms of amount of financial loss incurred due to cyber attacks, increase in terms of data that we every year we lost to hackers or cyber related incidents. So it's directly proportional. We have been spending more, but then we have been losing more money and losing more data. So you can ask yourself, what is missing? What is missing? I think what's missing is what has been presented here. You can do the half of the 50% of the operation. You can address yourself, but you need the other 50%. The other 50% is the the fully managed or end-to-end managed cybersecurity service that's been explained here. So stop doing it yourself. You know, it's like being sick. We can take medicines ourselves. At the end of the day, we really need the experts in the physicians, the doctors, and everyone that can help us.
That's correct, and valid points, Sir Angel. I think a lot of times if we don't take the expertise, then we feel they've done the right job, but obviously the expertise is not there, and the data is the cost is much higher. Hitesh, any recommendations, final comments, the audience?
I think the only recommendation is that if you're not sure whether you need to act or not, please feel free to reach out. We'll be a trusted advisor advising you, what should be. As I say, it doesn't have to be complex for you. We can deliver both technologies available at cloud where you can just start adopting immediately, and and so is expertise. You don't have to wait until you hire the right talent, retain the right talent, and build that. Feel free to reach out. We'll be more than happy to have a personalized discussion as to how we can advise you something.
Thanks, Hitesh. Hans?
Yeah, a couple of things. One is, I don't know if this was mentioned, but a lot of the security issues that we have at this point is regarding access control. And I hope everybody here in the panel agrees that the moment you turn on multi-factor authentication, it solves a majority of your issues and it solves a majority of your risks already. Never mind the hackers coming in. Okay, I'm not saying that's not important, but most of security incidences has something to do with the fact that your employees do not take care of their identities and their passwords. So multi-factor authentication, at the same time, education. And I'd like to also add up on what Sir Angel said a while ago. It's an arms race out there. And if you try to do this by yourself, we are definitely going to lose. We have lots of experts out there concentrated on certain areas, and they do this 24/7, 365 days a week. 365 days a week. And they live, eat, and drink security. A lot of the security folks that you have in our organizations, that's probably not their full-time job. But in Microsoft, we have 4,000 people whose full-time job is security. EPLDT is the same thing. They got people whose full-time job is security. So it just makes more sense to outsource these to the experts rather than just doing it yourselves. But not fully outsourcing it. You still have a role to play in this, in terms of making sure that the security experts follow your own standards as well, and your realities as a business.
Yeah, thanks. And it doesn't mean you always have to break the bank. There are many providers who are offering top of the line service.
Absolutely. You can start small and then go from there. But the important thing is knowing the baseline. So if our friends from Cloud4C are offering a free assessment, take it. Okay, so we know where we are starting and we know what the problems are.
Thanks, Sern, for that vote of confidence. Thanks so much. Kiran, final comments, recommendations for the audience, please.
Yeah, yes, Manish. One of the common challenges a lot of customers have is the vendor complexity. They have too many solutions, too many security solutions in their environment. They need to simplify it. They need to simplify their security. They need to improve their threat protection, right? Threat detection. There are a lot of proven solutions out in the market, especially the one I talk about, the reference architecture from Microsoft, right? So when you have too many solutions, you need to have a strong integration so that you have a single pane of glass where you can actually see what's happening in your environment. You can detect, mitigate, and all those stuff. And also, there are the recent modern threats, in terms of pandemic. You have seen COVID themes kind of attacks which are happening. You need right solutions in place in order to mitigate those kind of attacks. Customers should start looking at how can they modernize their entire security portfolio. Think about solutions implementing like MFA is a good example. Second one is zero trust model. A lot of buzz around that. How can you have a secure remote workforce, zero trust model, go passwordless? These are some of the proven trends, technologies which customers can adapt today, today's sophisticated attacks or scenarios. So those are some of my inputs.
Sounds good, Kiran. With that, let me just thank everyone. I think we are at the hour. Sir Angel, thank you so much for your time and your comments. Avinash, Hans, Kiran, thank you so much for being on the panel. Hitesh, thanks for your time, and the audience, thanks for being with us. We hope to hear from you, and we'll stay in touch. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.